Alrighty, so we've got our next topic, the 2025 season. And Mark, you've been going over the record predictions for a lot of these teams in all college football, including South Carolina, Miami, Florida, and a dozen others. How are you feeling about the Crimson Tide, especially looking at their schedule for 2025?
Yeah, this team intrigues me because obviously they fell far short of Alabama standards last year, but still, we're only one game away from the playoffs. And when they were good, but they had those real two just head scratchers of games. But I think if I could go to anybody's August camp, and I know that people are expecting Ty Simpson to be the starter, but I would still, if I was going to go to anywhere uh, the last couple months for spring practice and then in August, it would be to watch Keelan Russell, Austin Mack, and Ty Simpson play quarterback and compete against each other. That would be fascinating. I would love to see those three guys. Um, the running back position, I'm interested in because there are layers of talent behind Jam Miller. I know Justice Haynes obviously went to Michigan, but those guys had to be frustrated to a certain extent because Jalen Milroe kind of took over the offense and they kind of tailored everything around him, even the running game.
Mm-hmm.
And the running back could become, again, a factor in the Alabama offense. I also think that after what was one of the most incredible runs of wide receiver play in recent college football, that the wide receiver position's been down for 3 or 4 years, but I think it's ready to break out again. Obviously, we know about Ryan Williams. Jeremy Bernard's he's a pro. He's a polished receiver, and I think they're just going to be better at wide receiver than they've been in quite some time. And the offensive line should be really strong. I'm very intrigued to see this team play, and if the quarterback comes through, whoever that's going to be, most likely Ty Simpson, they're loaded on defense. They had a ton of guys who could have went to the NFL that stuck around, and this defense could be one of the top five defenses in the country.
I think the
Well,
defense is the key for us to be really, really
I
good
think
next
I think that defense can be number one. I mean, they've got a lot coming back,
year.
and with a lot of experience too. So
I mean, I know because I know like college football
said
is
it all
trending in an
along.
offensive direction, but like our defense, it's just we used to be able to shut teams down, even some of the best offenses. And last year we weren't doing that. We allowed Jackson Arnold to run for 120 yards against Oklahoma. It's like,
That's
what are we doing,
Hey,
right?
Jeffrey, I got an answer to that, and I'm hoping it changes. I got an answer to that. 3-3-5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Alabama, their base was a 3-3-5. That is a nightmare. I never understood it, and so hopefully that'll change. And I mean, you got to have four guys up on the line of scrimmage. Four guys. I mean, 3-3-5 is too easy to block. And so anyway, but go back, Jeffrey. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
Oh, you're
I'm
good. You're
getting,
good.
I'm hearing footsteps, so I may have to cut out here in a second, Jack.
Yeah, it was just so frustrating watching Alabama's defense last year because it was so inconsistent. I mean, the offense was too, but I mean, we just had no business giving up 41 to Vanderbilt and then allowing Oklahoma to score. I mean, it wasn't the worst defensive performance against Oklahoma because the pick sixes is why we lost and we had no offense in that game. But that's what I want to see. I want to see consistency from Alabama next year. I want to see consistency where every single game, even if they're not having their best game, you see 100% maximum effort being displayed game in and game out like we used to see. That did not happen last year. I know with a new coach, it's harder to coach the team like Nick Saban did. I get that. But there were a lot of moments where we were very lax. You had the LSU game. You had the Georgia first half. We were elite. We were fantastic. And then you had the Vandy game and the Oklahoma game and the Michigan Bowl game and the South Carolina, lots of parts of that game. Tons of games where we were really poor. And it was so sad to see because the talent was there. I don't agree with someone in the comment section said earlier we don't have a QB. I think we've got three capable quarterbacks. I just think that I just think that one of them has to break out. I've been on the Keelan Russell train. I really want to see him. But if Ty Simpson has earned the job and he starts in week 1, that's great. I think that then that means that Keelan Russell is probably right behind. And if Ty Simpson doesn't do well, then he can come in. But I just think that at worst, Alabama could be a 10-2 type of team. I'm not making an official prediction yet, but we should be better if our defense is better, and as long as our offense has some more consistency than last year. To me,
the thing I learned most with regard to coaching is coordinators, and you go into the game plan, and you obviously you think it's the greatest thing on the history of the world and that kind of stuff, but then where you run into problems is where you have coaches that cannot adapt. The defense, the offense, they've changed. They've doing a little different schemes and stuff like that. What do you have, to counter that? And what I saw last year with Alabama is just not an ability to counter what other teams are doing. You follow what I'm saying? It was just sticking with and coaches that just want to stick with the same. And I'm not saying a head coach, you're just manager, but an offense coordinator, defense coordinator, if you're not willing to adapt and do something different, especially by halftime, and really especially by the fourth quarter, it's doomed. And so we'll see how Alabama's offense coordinator, defense coordinator are willing, how well they adapt to what other teams are doing. And I was not very impressed with regard to that.
Well, I have a unique perspective on it because I watched Indiana, and like a lot of this staff is Indiana. Nick Sheridan, Kane Wommack, DeBoer. I was never impressed with Nick Sheridan. He's not great, and he was the OC last year. I don't think that, as a football coach in and of itself, that he's bad. I just don't think he's a great OC. He took over for DeBoer at Indiana, and it completely fell apart. It completely went off the rails.
Well, and definitely to follow up what you're saying, because we talked about it, all of us, is that the idea with regard to changing and adapting and the identity. We never – what was the Mark, what do you think? What was the identity of Alabama's offense last year? We were running game, throwing game, hurry up. What was the identity? We never had one.
I think Jalen Milroe was the identity.
Yeah, just
he put too much on his plate, and that's why his play regressed.
Well, when our running game was 125 rushing yards or more, we were winning. But when it was less than, the only game we won was South Carolina, and we almost lost that one.
Yeah, I forgot. There was one other game we did well again. It was Missouri. It was the Missouri game. And I know Missouri didn't have their starting quarterback in that game, but we ran the ball in that game.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of our better offensive performances was against Missouri.
And against LSU. And that's why I was mystified that LSU could never figure out that Jalen Milroe basically just – like if you look at the numbers of that game and they just back up watching the game, that he completed about 4 or 5 meaningful passes downfield, and otherwise the running backs did nothing. He just ran the same play over and over, and they blocked it, and LSU could never stop it.
That was one of Brian Kelly's worst games ever as a head coach. That was despicable. Because, literally, I was watching the game, and I'm like, Bama's doing the same thing again and again and again.
Yeah.
And they're not even – it's like playing, the NCAA football or Madden or whatever, and you're just running the same play again and again, and the computer can't stop it. I've done that before. You just keep running the same play, and it breaks the team for some reason, and that's the way it was. LSU – We could have played 8 quarters against them, and they would have never figured it out. They were just letting us run all over.
Well, I pulled up a comment a little while ago where Ralph Wolf says he wants Bama to pummel Vandy in the mouth. Mark, does his wish come true this year?
Well, I got to think so, although I don't know that Vandy's going to allow them to be pummeled like they have in the past.
No.
I think they'll put up a fight, but Alabama's certainly going to be a good 15 to 20 point favorite in that game.
Coming off the Georgia game, though, too. It depends on the result in that game, how well we played, too, I would believe.
And that South Carolina game, I've been worrying about that one constantly.
Yeah.
Because that's the homecoming game for South Carolina, but I won't spoil too much, but if you tune in to Mark's video on the 2025 South Carolina record prediction, he does not have them having a 10-win season. I'll put it at that. But how are you feeling about South Carolina, Mark?
I think they lost so much on defense that it's going to be difficult for them to replace it. And I think their schedule's brutal down the backstretch. They start with, in the SEC, Kentucky, Vandy, and Mizzou.
Ugh.
So it's fairly light. And then it is just the last 7 games on that schedule might be the toughest 7-game stretch in the country.
Yeah, A&M's gunning for blood.
It's kind of giving like Florida vibes from last year. Florida's schedule and like Billy Napier, should be toast. And then their schedule ended up not being as hard as expected somehow.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the year, it kind of fizzled. Like some of the teams faded, and then obviously Lagway saved the day. I still believe that Florida could have won that game if Lagway doesn't get hurt against Georgia. I think they could have beat Georgia.
Yeah,
they had a shot. I do have to ask. I know we're talking Bama, Mark, but I have to ask you though. I kept telling people that Georgia could have easily been 8-5 last year, and people said I was crazy. I don't think I was crazy. They were very close to 8-5.
Well, for Florida to hang with them, and I can remember the name of the third-string quarterback who was playing. So Mertz wasn't even playing in that game, and then once Lagway got hurt, I can't think of the guy's name, but that was playing quarterback for Florida. But for the Gators to hang that close to Georgia, and obviously Georgia only beat a bad Kentucky team by a point.
In the Georgia Tech game, I mean, like, they were not good.
No, they were not good in that game either.
Georgia was not good. I mean, I had people saying I was crazy for saying they should have been an 8-win team. I mean, they literally should have been an 8-win team.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but I remember the Haynes King target.
Oh, yeah.
That bothers me. That Haynes King was hit right on the helmet, the crown of the helmet, and they did not even review it. They did not even call anything. And he fumbled on that play, and Georgia Tech was winning when that happened. And then Georgia ended up winning, making the playoffs. Georgia should not have made the playoffs last year. To me, it was Kirby's worst team in years last year.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, it was.
Well, to your point, Jeffrey, Mississippi State had Georgia on upset alert at one point.
Yeah, I mean, they literally were horrible in like 4 of the games they won.
Texas should have had a nice lead at halftime of the SEC championship game against them. The yardage total in that, Texas just blew so many chances early.
It's like for us last year, the Georgia win was what made people be like, all right, Bama's still good despite having those bad losses. And for Georgia, it was the 2 Texas wins. Because other than that, the rest of the season, they were horrible. Yeah. Against multiple bad teams. The Kentucky game, I completely forgot. I've mentioned it 100 times before. I forgot about it just now. But, yeah, that game, the Georgia Tech game, Florida, I was rooting for Lagway. I was pulling so hard for Lagway, and then he goes down, and I'm like, no. I mean, they were winning. Florida was winning the game. And I told some Georgia fans, like, you do remember that Lagway and Florida were winning before he got hurt. Like, no, they weren't. I mean, they were so pretentious last year, Mark, saying, oh, we're still really great. We're dominating the SEC. I'm like, you could have went 8-5, 7-6. You were not a great team last year. Carson Beck was not great last year. Nobody was great last year. And all the off-the-field stuff, I feel like, is really hurting them. So, I mean, Georgia's got to get their act together. They do.
I don't even think it's an argument. I made the statement a couple of weeks ago that this is the worst Georgia team since Kirby Smart's first year.
I don't disagree with that at all. I agree
gentlemen, 100%. That's what happens when you have Mike Bobo as your offensive coordinator. That is what happens. And I think at some point, if Georgia's wanting to go back to having natties, they're not going to have a natty as long as Mike Bobo's their offensive coordinator. That is, mark my words.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I've got duty calls. Jack, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. You can check out Coach Burtz on Johnny H. Burtz on Instagram, and give him a follow. Give him a friend request on Johnny Burtz 5 on Facebook. Tune in for more. We're going to
have a good one, Johnny.
All right. Thank y'all. Bye.
Stay away from that heat, Coach. Oh man. So all in all, looking at the the records, like the whole schedule, like the Georgia game, that's going to be a good one for week 5. Tennessee, top revenge game for the Crimson Tide. LSU, I really don't know what version we're going to get.
I still
them.
can't believe people think they're a top 10 team preseason.
You don't even want to look. Don't look at the Lindy's magazine then, because like they
love them. They love
yeah.
them, and I get it. If you look at the personnel, I can see it, but
no smart, man. He's a 3-pick QB every game.
They're gonna have to prove it. Yeah.
Oklahoma.
Look at Oklahoma having a number next to their name right there after last year, man. And I know we got no room, so we got blown out. But man, Oklahoma was not good last year.
Yeah.
No. Well, they were on defense.
Oof.
It's true.
The Auburn game.
But yeah, they were so incredibly bad on offense.
Auburn, that's the one that's really scaring me right there, because like the last time we won by double digits against the Auburn Tigers was in 2015. That was and one of those moments was because of the fact Coach Muschamp was just losing it on those referees. I mean, he was like off his Adderall that day.
I remember that.
Well, Jackson, thanks for having me. I'm going to let you guys wrap it up here and finish out the show, and I need to head out as well.
All right, you can tune
Sounds
into
great,
that
Mark.
2021 Michigan Ohio State watch party that Mark is hosting tonight. You can give him a follow, Mark Rogers BOCFB on @/Twitter and on Instagram. Tune in for more.
And how about this book?
Exactly, the Disputed National Champions College Football's Historical 1990s Reset, the college football go-to, the historical landscape for all college football fans for the 90s. And at some point, we'll definitely have to ask Mark which decade is next.
Would love to write another one.
There we go.
That would be perfect.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on, Mark,
Absolutely.
and we will definitely be seeing you soon.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. Good to see you
Have
guys.
a great night, Mark. Appreciate you coming on.